Hey there everybody, Aaron here. Welcome to another episode of Gideon's Tactical. Today we're going to be checking out and just doing a quick overview of the Spyderco Sharpmaker. You guys have been asking me for a long time here on the channel, what do you use for sharpening your knives? And this is my bench, if I'm putting it on the table, a bench, workbench. This is my large sharpening kit that I use and I absolutely love it. Been using it for about 6 months now and it is my favorite sharpener to date for just being able to crank through blades, and that's what's so awesome. I can sharpen 5 to 6 fixed blades and 5 to 6 pocket knives in under a half hour, get them to razor shaving sharp with this Spyderco Sharpmaker. What you get when you purchase this guy is you get 2 ceramic rods that are in medium grit, and then you get 2 ceramic rods that we have in here that are fine grit, so that you can kind of get the burrs and the nicks and the chips out with your mediums, and then get the razor hair popping sharp edge with the fine ceramics here. And then that's really key, guys. You may have the sharpest knife out of the box, but eventually, regardless if you're doing 1095, BD1 tool steel, S30V, regardless of what type of steel you got on your blade, eventually you are going to dull it and you got to put an edge back on it. And I don't know about you, but I am not a very great sharpener. I'm not very good at it, and I don't really have the time to get a whetstone, similar to this. I've used this in the past. It does the job, but it's a pain in the butt and takes a really long time. A Smith's Arkansas stone. And I just don't have the time to get a really good technique. I got so many knives going through my hands. I keep several on me at all times. But I gotta really be able to be quick and do a knife quick, and I care much more about using a knife than I do about getting a technique down of how the ancient samurai used to sharpen their blades or something on a Japanese whetstone. That's great for some people, no problem. I'm not bashing them. I'm just saying that's not me. I need to knock out and get a good edge real quick, and that's what the Sharpmaker gives you, and it gives you the ability to do. So let's go ahead, jump into using this. This isn't a perfect sharpener, but it is a great sharpener, and I'll show you the pros and cons of this little guy here we got on the table. Okay, so one of the main reasons why I love this Sharpmaker so much is it gives you 2 options, 20-degree grind angle or a 15-degree grind angle for your knives. Now, most pocket knives are going to be 15 degrees or right around there between 13 and 15, and most of your large fixed blades like your Esses, your Beckers, your K-bars, all things like that, they're going to be around 20 degrees on each side, 40 inclusive, and then 15 degrees on each side for your pocket knives, or 30 inclusive. So they give you those 2 options, and what's fantastic is I have this set up now, and I just need to do some touch up here, just get it a little bit sharper. I have it on the 20-degree grind angle with the fine ceramics. I have the esse-hungless. This is a 10-inch blade, massive, huge. It would be very difficult to use one of these right here and try and do the whole edge on one of these Arkansas stones. Very, very difficult. I've tried it before prior to owning the Spyderco, and it was just a pain in the butt. Whereas now with the Spyderco, I can get the whole edge in one fell swoop. You can see there, I'm getting the entire edge done and run through on these ceramics. I just drag it along. You just keep it very, just perpendicular to the ground. So you just keep it perfectly vertical to the horizon. And that'll give you a 20-degree on each side of your edge. And you just run it along the whole edge, putting just a little bit of pressure. Awesome, huge 10-inch blade. I'm resharpening no problem with the Spyderco Sharpmaker, and that's what I love. I can get my entire edge on in one fell swoop, whereas with those rods or with a whetstone, an Arkansas stone, it's very difficult to try and get the whole edge on in contact with the stone in one fell swoop. It's very difficult to do. So I love that for your large blades with this Spyderco Sharpmaker. The other thing I love is that with this particular blade design, it's kind of modified kukri, lots of belly, got a recurve in it, and this is becoming very popular nowadays. You got this Kershaw Camp 10, you got this Tops Dart that I have in my hand, you got the Buck Thug, just a lot of knives now kind of are using this modified kukri, and this is very difficult to try and resharpen on a whetstone. Whereas with this, again, I just line it up and drag. That's all I have to do, just pulling down, going down, and dragging at the same time, and I'm getting a wicked shaving edge on my blade. So easy to do. I don't have to worry about the recurve and follow the recurve at all. I just pull and drag, just like I did with the Esse. So you can do those really large recurves as well, and kukri kind of designed blades very easily with the Spyderco Sharpmaker, and that's what I love about it. Regardless of the blade design, you're going to be able to use this and use it well and get a wicked edge on your knives. Woo! Yeah, buddy. Look at that. Got a few hairs on there. I don't know if you can see that. We got some hairs right there. Shaving sharp in, you know, moments with those ceramic rods. That's, again, why I love using the Spyderco Sharpmaker with particularly your large fixed blades like this one. So one thing I did want to show you, if your knife doesn't have a 15 or 20 degree grind angle, you know, which some, particularly when you start getting up in those higher quality blades, you know, maybe you know, zero tolerance, or you're buying, you know, a custom knife, or, you know, maybe a Bark River or something, they may have a very specific grind angle that you have to, you know, take care of, or maybe a Scandi grind. You know, this would not work on any Scandi knife the way we're doing it. So they do give you a little notch right here, and you can put your ceramic rod nice and flat and basically make a whetstone. So if you had to, you can do that with this particular model. Just sits right in there, and this is just the basic model. All of them will do it, and then you would, you know, use your knife and just like a whetstone, find your grind angle and resharpen it that way. I would not do that with 90% of my knives, but I do that with the Tops Bob that has a Scandi grind on it, your Moras, you know, some of those other knives that maybe just have a really special edge on it, and these particularly, you know, preset grind angles that they give you aren't doing it for you. You can't find the right grind angle. You can just go back to the old original and still use this platform to do that really nice sharpening that you would with a whetstone. So that's great that it gives you that kind of whetstone option as a backup if you had to. All right, I'm going to swap these out now so that we can do the 15 degrees for the pocket knives. These guys just need a little bit of a touch-up as well. So I just swap it over to the 30 inclusive, or 15 on each side. Rotate it. Again, you just put your hand here. Make sure you use your safety rods. Always very important. And then again, I've got here an S30V blur with a slight recurve. Again, very difficult to work with on a whetstone in my opinion. Again, I'm sure some of you out there are masters at a whetstone. Fantastic, great, no problem. But for a lot of us out here, rookies, you know, or just don't have the time or the energy, or just don't want to, you know, put the effort into trying to figure out how to get a good edge with a whetstone, this is a no-brainer. You just put a little bit of pressure on it, you just drag, again, able to do that recurve, real nice and easy, real fast too, the speed. I'll give you just a quick example. I mean, one time, you know, when I got my Rat 7 in, I had to use that whetstone prior to owning this Spyderco Sharpmaker, and it took me forever, it seemed, to get a really good shaving edge on it. And then when I got my Rat 5, I wanted to put a really, you know, it came with a really good edge, but I wanted to put a shaving edge on it. It took me like 2 minutes with this guy, whereas it took me, I don't know, 45 almost with the Rat 7. Both same 1095 steel. And I mean, this is just so easy to do. You can see here, and it just does your knife real fast, real easy. It just depends on how long you want to do it, how sharp you want to get it. Oh my gosh. Heck yeah, look at that. Shaving sharp. All that hair right there. Wow. And again, moments to get it back to that nice a sharpness. You know, and then I got BD1 tool steel over here. Same thing. Just run it a few times. You know, and you do it just kind of, this is how I maintain my knives. I just kind of do it like you do when you clean a gun. You know, at least for me, I'm sure not everybody, but when I go shoot my gun, when I get home, I tear it apart, clean it, you know, and put it back together. Just so to maintain it, you know, take care of it. Same thing with my knives. I go out, I use them for the day, you know, maybe we go on a couple day hiking trip, camping trip, whatever. You know, we're going out doing some filming for the day. I just come inside, boom, touch up my blades, we're good to go. Takes a few moments, and I hardly ever have to use the more coarse ones, just because I do that so often. I just maintain my blade, you know, just like anything else in life. You maintain, you know, your car, put oil in it every, you know, 3,000 miles, change the oil regularly and the fluids. It's going to run forever. You know, sharpen your knife really regularly. It's going to last you forever, and you're hardly ever going to have a dull or chipped edge. So, again, shaving sharp, man, on that BD1 tool steel. So there it is. You've seen it in action. Let's go ahead and wrap this sucker up. So the only complaint with this item that I have is the fact that you can't adjust the grind angles, you know, and you would have to go to that hole that we talked about over here on the side, you know, and just kind of eyeball it and go back basically to a whetstone format if you don't have basically a 15-degree or a 20-degree knife, and particularly if you're using some sort of crazy super steel that's almost impossible, you know, to re-grind and get a new grind angle on. This is not going to be a very good item if you need to put new grind angles on knives. If you're doing a factory edge or it's just a softer steel, you know, I mean, most pocket knives are going to be very close to 15 degrees. Most fixed blades are going to be very close to 20 degrees. And particularly, you know, if you're using AUS 8, you know, 154 cm, 1095, 154, 5160, you know, a lot of those high carbons, you know, those type of things, which are 90% you're going to be rocking. It's not very difficult. You don't have to worry about reprofiling the edge. The Sharpmaker does just fine, regardless if the edge is maybe 1 or 2 off. For example, like a buck knife with 420 high carbon, those are all ground in at 12 degrees, but it's going to be able to reprofile that edge to 15 degrees real quick because it's a 420 high carbon type of steel. That's the only complaint though that I have, is that you can't adjust it. You know, you can't do a 17-degree grind angle. You can't do a 23-degree grind angle. If you want to do that, you got to use the little hole on the side and eyeball it. That's really my only complaint with the Spyderco Sharpmaker. Other than that, freaking home run for around 50 bucks. Totally worth every penny that I've spent on it. Eventually, I do want to get my hands on some of those nicer ones, like the Wicked Edge, I believe is what it's called, and the Edge Pro Apex. I will be getting my hands on those eventually, but definitely through 2014, this will be the sharpener that I use, and for 50 bucks, it's really the best thing on the market. If you want something better, you're gonna have to start spending, you know, 100, 200, 300 bucks, you know, to start getting something better than what you see on the table. And it's definitely better, in my opinion, than trying to, you know, figure it out with a whetstone like that or some sort of, you know, diamond rod that you got to kind of hand do. These aren't bad, but this is just going to crank out knives so much faster, particularly if you have several knives in your collection that you need to sharpen. Or, you know, I mean, just the other day I had one of my buddies over, one of my neighbors, and, you know, we sharpened a bunch of kitchen knives, sharpened a couple of the fixed blades, just kind of had a sharpening party for about, you know, 45 minutes, just sharpened a bunch of knives, and you can do it real quick. So that's what's great about the Spyderco Sharpmaker. I give it an 8 out of 10 for sure, with really the only hang up being that you can't adjust the grind angles. Other than that, awesome. If you're thinking about it, do it. It's going to be a great piece in your collection and keep your edges wicked sharp. So, thanks everybody for watching. Stay equipped, stay prepared. We'll see you out there.